Appreciate the Lord tonight. All that He's done for us.
Oh, yes. Hallelujah.
Many blessings that He daily bestows upon us.
Yeah.
And, we'll turn your Bibles to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30. Got a little thought on my heart tonight. See what the Lord can do with us. How we get the thought. Have to allow the Lord to take over from there. Because sometimes our thoughts can get beyond us, Brother Steve. Amen. And but we appreciate the Lord. And Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, and start reading at verse number 11. It says, "For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven that thou shouldest say, Who shall go up for us to heaven, and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, Who shall go over the sea for us, and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it." Over the book of Philippians, chapter number 3. Start reading with verse number 13. Paul here says, "Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling in Christ Jesus." Thank you for standing for the reading of the Word. I began to think about this, and Paul said, I reach and reaching forth unto those things which are before. And I thought if I could title this tonight, I'd just simply title it, Just Reach. That's the thought the Lord laid on my heart.
Yeah.
And I thought a lot of times we don't maybe get what we could
That's right.
because we don't reach for it.
Right.
We don't strive for it.
Uh-huh.
But I thought as I read this in Deuteronomy, in the text, and he's talking about the things here, and it says, "It is not in heaven that thou shouldest say, Who shall go up for us to heaven?" And then he's talked about the sea, and who shall go over the sea and bring it to us. And I thought I'd look this up in a commentary, and the commentator said, "It's not too high for thee, and thou needest not to send messengers to heaven to inquire what thou must do to please God, nor needest thou to go beyond the sea, as the philosophers did, that traveled through many and distant regions in pursuit of learning. No, thou art not put to that labor and expense, nor is the commandment within the reach of those only that have the great estate and fine genus, but it is very nigh unto thee."
Uh-huh.
And I thought, I don't know what you're needing from God tonight. I know some of the things that I need from God. And I thought a lot of times we just simply need to reach
Right.
for them. And I thought God has got some great gifts that are really worth reaching for.
Right.
But many times we look at them and we look at them as if they are too far from us. I thought we went to the youth rally Friday night, as Brother Brad mentioned this morning. And I had never heard the brother preach. I don't even remember what his name was. He was from what I gathered, upstate New York. Pastored up there for a number of years and going to Brother Philip Webb's church. But he preached outstanding. And I thought I seen the response that he was getting from the young people. And he wasn't a young preacher. He was an older guy. And I thought a lot of times you go to a youth rally and they expect maybe a younger preacher to be there, but he preached outstanding. But I thought, but the thing about it was the response that he got. And I thought, it's one thing to preach a good sermon or to preach a message, but if you don't get no response, then sometimes you just take them back home with you. But I thought as I began to watch our young people, and I began to see them as they begin to reach for the things that God was telling them they could have.
Come on now.
And I thought I seen some of them crying and praying that I had not seen cry and pray before. I seen some tears running down some cheeks that had been a long time since I had seen those tears. I seen some that was desiring to reach, but because of the obstacles and the things that were in their life that the enemy had placed there, they were having a problem reaching beyond their own selves and their own problems, and not just ours, but others that was there, reaching past themselves to get a hold of what God was offering them there that night. And I thought there's been times that I have failed to reach beyond myself to get the things that God would have for me.
Come on now.
I thought, we work, we hire through a temporary service, and sometimes we past boss, we worked people for up to 2 years before through a temporary service, and before we ever put them on our payroll. But with the things that's transitioning and going to put some on, and I was talking to James the other day, and I was bringing him home, and the day I believe Wednesday, Brother Sparks had the surgery on his ear. We were coming home and we were talking about fixing to put someone on the payroll, and I mentioned one of his name, and he said, "Well, it seems like he just isn't trying. He's not applying himself. He don't want to do no extra. It seems like he don't want to grow, he don't want to learn nothing else. He's never trying to pick up no pace or get no speed with the job. He's happy where he's at."
Right.
And I thought sometimes we do the same thing spiritually. We just become happy at where we're at. And I thought, there's not a whole lot more benefits by becoming onto the payroll of the company, other than you get some vacation time, you get 5 holidays a year. I mean, that's pretty good. You get a paid holiday and all the other things. And I thought, but he was happy where he was. And I thought, he recognized that. And I thought sometimes we do the same thing. But I thought the benefits of serving God go farther and beyond anything that this world has to offer. And I thought, so why would we be content with this level when we can go so much higher?
That's right.
I thought whenever I started working there, May the 3rd seemed like a long time. But yet it seems like it hadn't been that long either. But I thought May the 3rd of this year will be 28 years that I've been there. And I thought I started out just an 18-year-old kid and just a laborer like anybody else, and knew absolutely nothing about meat except that when it's in there and there's a whole bunch of it that's raw, it don't smell the best in the world. It stinks. And I thought that was 28 years ago. Now 28 years have passed, and I love to stand beside a grinder with good fresh meat in it grinded, brother. I just like to smell that. And I thought I've learned to adapt to that. And I thought, but I'm saying all this to say that, but when I started there, just a young kid, and not realizing what God had in store for us, and didn't pay much money. I think I started out making $4 an hour. And you can't get by with it now. They started the women out at $3.65, the men out at $4. And but I started out making $4 an hour, and I was working. And Sister Kathy had a job, and she made a little bit more than I did. and I began to search around trying to find something a little better, and nothing seemed to pan out, and all the time just staying there. But the thing about it was, whatever the boss asked me to do, I was always willing to do it, and trying to go further beyond those things, and not realizing that things are going to happen. The plant manager is going to retire. The guy that stepped up in his place had an alcohol problem, and he allowed that to overtake him, and he ended up losing his job. The boss walks in and hands me the keys and says, "You unlock everything in the morning." Time went on, and I worked for a long time, coming in, scheduling everybody's day, and still you're just making $5.50 an hour, but I was diligent at it because I had to have a job, and I thought but God kept on working, and because I was willing to do what was laid at my charge and the things that I was responsible for, God moved me on, and He's helped me. No, I don't make $100,000 a year by no means, but I thought God has made a way. He's blessed us with the things that we're doing, but we had to reach for those things. And I thought in the spiritual realm, there's things that God has placed us in, and I thought we're being careless with them. We're in, we're out, we're up, we're down. And I thought the whole time God was saying, just take what I've blessed you with and use it. Work it. And I thought if we begin to reach for those things, God will make us better. God will move us on. Well, we don't have to look out and wonder about the things that we see, because we can have the things that God has for us. Well, Sister Michelle, Sister Kim gave their testimony of them praying about their husbands. Sister Kathy prayed about me. I'm glad God said it was okay. Because I was done moonstruck. And if God said it wasn't okay, then I'd been in trouble. And I thought I'd never will forget one night, Brother Ralph and Sister Minnie was at the house. And her parents didn't want us really seeing each other. And so she was at Sister Debbie and Brother Jim's house. And I went up there. And she told me there, she said, Mom and Dad don't want to see each other. We're going to have, I just can't do it. I can't go against my parents. Man, I was in bad shape. And I went home and I walked in the house, and Brother Ralph has a way of seeing those things. And he looked at me and he said, "What's wrong with you, boy?" And I told him what she said, and he said, "Are you going to give up that easy?" He said, "You got a truck out there, go after her." And that's what I did. I went and got my truck and I went after her. I wasn't going to give up. And I thought, but she'd already prayed through. She felt like God had said it was okay, but yet she didn't want to go against her parents. And I thought, that's fine. Now, thank goodness they like me now. It took me a long time, but they think a lot of me now. At least they say they do. But I'm saying all that to say that sometimes we look and we see things, and because it don't happen just like we ought to think it ought to, we just give up on it.
Yeah.
But I thought, is it worth giving up on, or is it worth going after?
Right.
I thought, I took off and I went to her house. She wasn't there, and so I turned around and she lived down in Madison County, and I went back and so I knew she wasn't at Sister Debbie's house, and she wasn't at Greg and Audrey's house, and she wasn't at her house. She was at her grandmother's house. And so I took off, and there she was, sitting on the porch. And I knew they didn't like me, but I pulled up front anyway. I thought because I had a desire. Like Sister Michelle said, I was in love. And I thought, but yet sometimes in the spiritual realm, we won't press for the things that God has already said we can have. God said it. God said it was okay. I don't know why the whole service decided to go this way. This ain't even in my notes. As a matter of fact, I haven't even used my notes except read my text off of it. But I thought, but God said it's okay. So why not pursue the things God has for us? And I thought, but we've got to reach out. And I thought, whatever we're looking at, it's in our reach. If we would just reach for it. Like, you take a young toddler that's just learning to walk. And you watch them, and they the first, they want to hold their hands up and let you walk them. You've got to help them along. But then after they get the little strength in their legs, and you watch them, they learn to pull up, and they will get something in their eye, and they will start taking a step. And as you watch, and the whole time they're stepping, they're reaching. for that obstacle, for that next place of stability.
Right.
And they know that if they can get there, that they can grab hold of it and they can get their little strength back and they get all stable. And then you'll watch them and they'll look at something else and then they take off after that. And then after a while, they don't look for that obstacle that's just within just a few feet, but they begin to look across the room.
Yeah.
And then they begin to look across the horizon. And then as you know how life goes, then they begin to look on and on and on. But it all started with a simple step.
Right.
And I thought, what is it that God has for you tonight? What's the steps that God is wanting you to take?
Right.
I thought we should reach up to God just like that little toddler that's learning to walk.
That's right.
You know,
Yes.
talking about that, you know, sometimes these kids just simply amaze you anyway. And, you know, Kinley, she gets these little things and she likes, and she liked these little toys, I don't know, you know, Shopkins or something like that. And Sister Kathy went to Walmart and she said, let's go look at them, and I didn't even have a clue what she was talking about. And I looked at them and the size of them, and I thought, man, them ain't for her age, you know. And Sister Kathy let me, I guess she said, she don't put them in her mouth. She plays with them. And she does. But the thing, you know, what I'm trying to say is, the other day she discovered Play-Doh. I don't know if she done it at daycare or what, but they've talked about her liking Play-Doh. And she FaceTimed us there at the house, Miss Sister Kathy, and she was playing with her Play-Doh. And she said, Mama, got Play-Doh. Me so excited. She was just so excited because she had got something. And Laura took her to the dollar store the other day, and she had Play-Doh and a tea set. She decided to go for the tea set. And she came home and she FaceTimed her Mama, and she said, Mama, got tea set. Be so excited. And I thought, you know, and the thing was, it's a new step. Something different for her. She's progressing on, and she looks at those things, and she's excited about it. Because it's something different in her life. And I thought a lot of times we look, and God's got something different for us. If we would just reach for it.
Right.
And say, Lord, you know, the Lord's saying you can have it. All you got to do is take it. I remember when our kids were little, and like I said, we didn't make a lot of money. And we'd go to Walmart, and we'd put them in the basket, and we'd push them around. And a lot of times they'd get a toy, and they could pack the toy around at Walmart. But when it come time to check out, Brother Brad, the toy had to go up because the money wasn't there to buy. And you say, well, that's cruel. No, they got to pay for it. Play with it the whole time we was in Walmart. And but there was those occasions that we would get, you know, we would have a little extra money, and we would let them pick a toy out, and we would get to the checkout line, and especially Sister Laura, she would hand it to her mom to put it away. And Kathy would say, no, you can keep it. You can have it this time. You know, and it was different because you didn't have to give it back. And I thought, not one time has God ever blessed us with anything that we had to give it back.
Come on now.
Not one time.
That's right.
But yet we can take the blessings of God
Yes.
and go on with them.
Yeah.
I thought we need to step out and reach for the things that God has before us. You know, but the thing about it is we got to reach within the will of God.
That's it.
Right.
We can reach for things
Right.
that's not in God's will. I thought we can read over in the book of Genesis chapter 4, or chapter 11, I'm sorry, verse 4. And it said, and they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. When we had a group of people that began to look around, and they began to look and to say, let us do this.
Yeah.
Let us make us a name.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people that's doing that.
That's right.
But I thought, we're not in this for notoriety for us,
That's right.
but to bring recognition to God.
Amen.
And I thought, we know what happened in that instance. God came down and scattered them abroad and messed up their languages so they couldn't even understand each other. And Brother Hard, while he was here preaching, and he always pray, and then he'd end the Lord's Prayer in Russian. And the reason for that is he's trying his best to get that Russian language down, because he goes over to Ukraine and preaching to those people. And I thought, you know, and it was okay, but it didn't do nothing for me, Brother Steve, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. I knew the Lord's Prayer, but I tried to quote it as he prayed, and because of the differences in the language, I couldn't even quote it while he was saying it, because it was so different. So you can understand the confusion that was there.
Right.
But I thought if they had just simply stayed in the will of God,
Right.
there is no confusion.
No.
I thought there's never going to be no nobody getting disoriented because of something that was said when it's done in the will of God.
That's right.
When we follow after God.
Right.
And I thought we should only do it to honor and to praise God. We should do it to cause Him because we love Him. We should do it so that we can reach up to God. And I thought, how can we do that? Through prayer. Through studying the Word of God.
Yes.
And I thought, and through supporting one another.
Oh, yes.
And I thought, young people tonight, I thought, don't be afraid to reach out to someone else
That's right.
whenever you're struggling.
That's right. Yes.
I thought, look to somebody that's godly
Yes.
and reach out to them. Don't turn to someone that's worldly and
That's right.
worldly minded for answers for God, because they're not going to give you something. But find someone that's trying and striving after the things of God and ask of them.
Yes.
And I thought, I remember being young and finding someone that we can depend on. Sister Kathy made mention of that. I thought we spent a whole lot of time, especially when we was dating, at Brother Jim and Sister Davy's house, and some others that we knew that were praying people. We spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah, we did.
And I thought, and I don't regret those things. But I thought sometimes we look and we begin to find those that are not steadfast.
Right. That's
And I
right.
thought they're unmovable, changing around and moving through to and fro. But I thought, go to someone and don't be afraid to call out on them. I thought because a true friend will be there for you.
Yes.
I thought Brother Steve mentioned this morning that he got stuck and called me. And yeah, we have that old Chevrolet rivalry. And we just like to pick on each other. And but I thought he called me, and I went and this morning he said, and I got home, Sister Kathy, I don't remember what brought it out. And and I could have said, well, hold on a minute. Got the chain tied, jumped out, snapped the picture, sent it to Bethany. I mean, I could have done
I
that.
was waiting for it.
And he said he's waiting on it. And I thought, but I didn't. I pulled him out of the ditch, threw the chain in the truck, we came home. But I said that, a lot of times, that's the way we want to do spiritually. I'll help you, but let me do this so that everybody can recognize and realize that I'm the one that helped you.
Right.
And I thought, if we're doing that, then we're in it for all wrong reasons.
Right.
And I thought, but when we're willing to help someone and say, I've helped you because you're stuck,
Yeah.
you're down and out, you need the help. When I pulled up and I seen that big white truck sitting there, and the outside tar was not even on the ground, and the inside tar on the driver's side was just barely touching the ground. I mean, I knew he was stuck.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that, and I'll be honest with you, I started driving my Ford up there and pulled him out. And I thought two-wheel drive might not cut it. And I was glad I didn't. And I thought, but anyway, I'm saying all that. Sometimes we look and we say, what's in this for me?
Right.
Rather than, what benefit can I be to God
Right.
through this? I thought, I want to benefit God. I thought, I want to reach out to God. I thought, as they come and get us a song tonight, I hope I've helped you. But I thought, if you're looking at others that are being used by God, and you think there's no way I can get there, you can. All you got to do is reach. I thought you may not ever be like they are. I thought Sister Kathy and I, we listen to a lot of preaching. We're at the house of a night, and we don't have nothing to do. We go on somebody's web page or church's page or hold us online. We listen to preaching. And I listen to a lot of good preachers. And sometimes I listen to them, Brother Steve, and I feel intimidated. I thought, man, how could I even try to preach with people like that out there preaching? Because I know that I can't come up to that. But the same God that called them called me.
That's right.
The same God that anointed them anointed me.
That's right.
And I thought the only difference is the way I deliver and the way they deliver. And some of them's got PhDs and all kinds of degrees. And I got a GED. I mean, I done real good. So, you know, but that's the way, it's just the way God works things. But I thought the thing is, I can reach the lost just like they reach the lost. If I reach. I thought I could help the one that's down just like they can help the one that's down if I reach. I thought I can be a light to our young people just like they can if I reach. And I thought our young people can get up and they can be a light if they reach. But I thought we've got to be willing to reach. And I thought if you've not even took that first step of faith tonight, because the devil says you can't make it, you can. All you've got to do is reach. I thought he puts all those things out there and says this and this and this. And if you try, you're going to be a failure. You might stumble. You might trip up. But when you get up, just reach. And I thought if you just keep reaching, you keep leading. I remember when my children were little and they fell a lot. You know, we took the coffee table out of the living room, and I remember when David was a baby, I remember taking the legs off the coffee table and putting it under the couch because he was learning to walk, and I didn't want him to stumble and get hurt, and I wanted things there that he could. And I thought, but many times I'd walk and he would reach. And Laura, when she began to walk, and we began to teach her, and we get to reach, they fell a lot. But they got back up. And I thought the same thing spiritually. When you get started, you might stumble and you might fall. But all you got to do is get back up and reach. Get back up and reach. And he'll be there to help us. And I thought it's good to pray to yourself. But I thought you'll find so much more strength when you get up and you take that step of faith. And you come and allow others to pray with you. You'll be surprised at the strength that you receive by allowing someone else to help you pray and help you to reach what you're needing with God. As they give us a song tonight, Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I thought the things that you think that can't live without. Paul says, forget those things. They're behind. Let them go and reach for those things that are before. As they get us a song tonight, let's pray.
Hallelujah. Glory.
Thank you.